Sal, who's more important to the Bengals' success? Is it the defense or Joey B?
It's the one that you said first. It's the defense. And I don't think that was a coincidence. Let's just be real about it. They need each other. We know that. Can we be lazy? Yep. Can we be simple-minded?
Need each other.
Oh, it
Put
works
us both on camera, please, so you can see the agreement. Thank you. Need each other. Okay. Now let's go.
Let's go to war. All right, let me pick. Let me choose my side, and let me rep my side. I know you're going to be a traitor and go on the other side, but let's talk this. Regular season, let's use that as our premise.
Yes, sir.
And now they're on a Super Bowl run. We'll see if they ultimately win the Super Bowl, but they're in the Super Bowl. Here's a sentence that is true, that a lot of people are not saying out there. The defense has gotten better in the postseason, and Joe Burrow has gotten worse. Now, let's start off with this on-the-prowl Bengals defense, just to highlight what I'm saying. Let me make my case. Points per game allowed, you see it there. Yardage per game allowed, all dips. Better for the defense. Takeaways per game, whoa, that's a huge spike. That's double. Sacks per game and defense on money down, third down. Take that away. Let me tell you guys that Joe Burrow in the postseason, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The 4 games before to go on that run, 4-0, to get to the postseason, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But let me just give it to you in simple terms. His completion percentage went down from 76 to 69. His yards per game went down 90. His yards per attempt went down 3 yards. His passer rating went down 36. It's all good, big dog. I'm not trying to hate on you. I'm not trying to undermine you. But those defensive players need their props. So I want to hear your simple, concise layout why Joe Burrow, who's gotten worse in the postseason, and the defense has gotten better in the postseason, is the reason that they're here.
Yes, sir. I love doing this show. I do. I'm going to ask you all a question. Producers, I'm going to ask y'all one, too. Sal, I'm going to ask you the same question. Did you prefer to be graded in a class on a curve or no curve?
No curve.
No curve.
No curve.
Why no curve, sir?
Because I knew I was going to set the curve either way, so I wanted to get an ultimate, absolute A, 100.
I love it. I love it. Regardless of what you answered, let me break down the difference.
Okay.
If you are in a classroom and you are graded without a curve, then it does not matter how anybody else does.
There you go. I ain't helping y'all.
The only thing that matters is how do you do. If you get a 70, your 70 sticks. If you get an 80 on the test, your 80 sticks.
There you go.
If you get a 90 on the test, your 90 sticks.
Facts.
If you get a 50 on a test, your 50 sticks. No curve. It is irrelevant how anybody else does except yourself. Personally, I like to be graded on a curve. Now, why do I like to be graded on a curve? Because if I get a 50, but the mean in that class, the average of that class on that test was a 35, I'm getting curved all the way up to an A. I'm getting curved all the way up to a 90. If I get a 70, but the average was a 60, curve me right on up to an A. If I get an 80, but the average was a 70, curve me right on up to an A, because the only thing that matters is not how I did, but how did I do relative to how everyone else does.
Let's go.
The NFL playoffs are grading on a curve. It does not matter how Joe Burrow did, but how did Joe Burrow do compared to everybody else in the class? How did Joe Burrow do compared to Derek Carr? How did Joe Burrow do compared to Ryan Tannehill? Because he outplayed Derek Carr. He outplayed Ryan Tannehill, curve him on up to an A. Who else he outplayed? Patrick Mahomes. Curve him right on up to an A. So, Sal, while you are looking at Joe Burrow without a curve.
What's that little orange thing right there that say second half OT? Why you can't give me the whole game?
Look at the whole thing.
Why you can't give me the whole game, brother?
The whole thing.
You talking about curve. The curve is the whole test. The curve ain't answer 5 through 10.
The whole test will still show you Mahomes had 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Joe Burrow had 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The whole test will still work in Joe Burrow's favor. I did not want to confuse our audience. Albert Einstein, make everything as simple as possible and no simpler. So, if the NFL playoffs grade you on a curve, then I do not care about how Joe Burrow is doing versus Joe Burrow. I don't care about how the Bengals defense is doing versus the Bengals defense. Because that's what you showed me. You showed a classroom without a curve. But the NFL playoffs, sir, it's all about the curve.
Objection, Your Honor. Contention in this courtroom right here. You in contempt. Sustained. Okay, let's talk about it. I love you, Acho, but this ain't the NFL playoffs. This is a question where we are comparing and we are grading on a curve of Joe Burrow versus his defense. Not Joe Burrow versus Derek Carr. That's the easy way out. That's how you like them curve tests, too. Trying to ride waves, safety net ass. Like, okay, if I mess up, y'all gonna help me out, right? You ride waves? I make waves, big dog.
I like
Never needed that damn help from the curve. Okay, let's compare Joe Burrow, stay with me, and his defense. Now, once again, I'm gonna plagiarize, but it's not really plagiarism because I give him credit. My man Tunes, that is on Twitter. Here's his summation, which is amazing. I love having wisdom of the crowd because people know things. Let's start out with that Raiders game. You want to keep banging on Derek Carr versus the Raiders. Up 7, Joe Burrow, 3 minutes left. The offense can ice the game. What do? They go 3 and out. Oh, Joe Burrow. Then the Raiders drive all the way down to the 9, and the game ends on a Derek Carr interception. Go Joe Burrow. Papa Stogie. Okay, let's go to the next game. Tennessee Titans versus the Titans. Burrow, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Late in the game, with a chance to take the lead. Take a bad sack, minus 10 yards and a punt. What? Then the defense, they intercept Tannehill as they're driving to win the game. Oh, go Joe Burrow. Another stogie. Now, let's go to the Chiefs game. All right. Burrow versus the Chiefs in the fourth quarter and overtime. 40 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, and another dropped interception. All I surmise from this, Your Honor, is all 3 games against Carr, Tannehill, and Mahomes, the last throws of the game were all interceptions. And guess who caught them? Not Joe Burrow. The defense. So, man, a quarterback who has regressed in the postseason, who has benefited from 7 takeaways from his defense to the tune of 20 points from the defense, and the defense has been opportunistic, Your Honor, I think the case is closed. Joe Burrow versus the defense wins. The defense rests.
That was a good take. That was a good take.
Yay!
Clearly it was not your own, and I hope you cut him some of your check. 1/8 of your check, to be exact, because this is 1/8 of the show, because there are 8 blocks every show. So I hope we get 1/8 of your check. But it was a good take. Let me try to undress that take very quickly. The defense is not in position to make those game-sealing plays if not for Joe Burrow. If not for Joe Burrow, that interception would just be an interception. But instead, it's a game-sealing interception because the Bengals have a lead. If not for Joe Burrow sustaining 9 sacks against the Tennessee Titans, then those interceptions by Ryan Tannehill would be meaningless interceptions. But the Bengals, once again, have a lead. If not for Joe Burrow keeping the Bengals in the game versus the Kansas City Chiefs, taking that game into overtime, then that interception for a interception in the overtime game against the Chiefs would be meaningless. But Joe Burrow goes down and scores. Thus, it is a game-sealing interception. Now, you preface this whole conversation with, they both help each other.
Yeah, let's not do that.
We making TV, we making good cases, we making good arguments.
Yes.
But they both help each other. But the biggest flaw in anyone's argument who thinks it's more credit to the Bengals defense than Joe Burrow is understanding this. In the playoffs, things get harder. So the only thing that matters now is that you win. In track and field at the Olympic Games, it does not matter what time you run. It is the last race of if you're running your last race, all that matters is that you win. But if to you even better, and then I'm done with my notes.
Let's go.
Marcellus knows this. He is a junior world record holder.
That ain't how you say it. I'm a national record holder. First of all, I'm a senior. My son's a junior. I am a national record holder and national champion. Just let it go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What Marcellus Wiley will tell y'all if he's being truthful, and that's a rare occasion, but if he's being truthful, what he'll tell you is this.
What?
When you get to the last meet, the national meet, the Olympic meet, the World Juniors, whatever the case may be, time is irrelevant. Win in advance. That's the saying. It's literally just win in advance. It does not matter if you run a personal best. It does not matter if you run a season's worst. All that matters is that you win in advance. What Joe Burrow is doing with the Bengals right now is exactly what you have to do at the biggest stage in global sports, in the biggest events, at the biggest time. Win and advance. Joe Burrow is winning and he is advancing. I do not care if he has personal bests. I do not care if he has season's best. I do not care if he has world records. I do not care what he does. He is winning and he is advancing. And to Joe Burrow be the credit.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to slight Joe Burrow because, he's the quarterback. But
Bengals D is nice too.
Yeah, there you go. Now we can agree on that and more so. They weren't always winning those games, tied in the situation in the game as well, and Joe Burrow did his part, they did his part. But don't you think that some of this is just, and this is my issue with quarterbacks, how they get all the praise and also all the criticism, but we're nuanced, so we're going to actually look to where we should put the praise or the criticism. In this situation, it just reminds me of kind of like how crazes and dance crazes are created, right? Like dance crazes are really created in somebody's living room or on somebody's block, right? Little Taisha out there just hitting it, and you're like, what? And then we wait for Chris Brown to do it 3 years later, and then be like, oh, that's the Chris Brown. They're like, that's Taisha's, right? To me, it's like the defense is Taisha. They just like, we did that. We did that. And everybody just going to Joe Burrow, lighting up a stogie and watching him dance. All right, we'll see.